We'll get started in just a minute, waiting for some staff to log in here. And we have, okay. So if everybody's in their places with bright council faces, we'll get rolling. Welcome to the study session of the Yelm City Council of November 2nd, 2021. We have all the council members here on Zoom with the exception of Councilmember Blair, who called in prior to 5 o'clock. And so the clerk will record the attendance, visually recognizing everybody who's on board. We've done a sound check. You'll notice that we are all on Zoom tonight, although it shows a picture of council chambers. That is so if we do have anybody from the public who comes in, we can accommodate them in the council chamber, at which point I will take a quick jaunt over there and mask up and welcome them in. We also have attending some members of the community today. Our friend Debbie Furman is on, and Stephanie and her family. And we also have Jason Gano, Josh Crossman, Lynn Roy, and our very own Sonia Ramirez. So with that, we will go ahead and get going. We have discussion items tonight, and we're going to try to go through this as efficiently as possible, because I know some of you might have something else to do tonight. So we will start with the wastewater reclamation facility funding update. Cody Colt.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. And I'm going to be as quick as possible. We've talked about this quite a bit, but I wanted to give council an update before our plan to bring the contract to council on November 23rd. So I will share my screen. You guys should see a slide that says WRF funding options.
We do.
Cool. I got some thumbs up. So I'm just going to do a brief kind of overview of how we got here. So a little history of what we've gone through to get to this point. Then we'll go over some of the things council has done, staff has done to kind of prepare for this big ask that's going to happen. And then we'll finalize it with kind of what we need to be done or what staff would like to be done in order to get this project off the ground. And feel free to stop me at any time for questions. So how we got here, 2019, council approved parametrics to design an MBR facility and upgrades to the current plant. So if you remember that, in 2009, a package was brought before council, 3 different options. One was a kind of upgrade retrofit to our current plant. One was buying property and building a whole new facility. And the third option, which council selected, was the kind of build a partial new facility and retrofit the old facility. And that was what council approved. In 2020, Public Works Committee at that time came to council with the idea of adding a bio dryer to be designed by parametrics onto that contract. Council, in their infinite wisdom, decided to do that, which was a really good thing, as you'll see. So that was started design in 2020 to be built alongside and completed with the other WRF upgrades. In 2020, knowing that we needed funding, we, as a city, applied for a low interest loan through Department of Ecology, along with some grants. We did not get any of the grants we applied for, but we did get the low interest loan, which one of the good things that come out of COVID was the loan interest dropped quite a bit from 2% to under 1.5%. So that loan ended up being a good thing and a good investment. At least we haven't accepted the loan yet, but just getting that initial application in. 2020, council's approach with scenarios for possible rate adjustment. If you remember last year, the Public Works Committee at the time and myself came to council with a couple of different options of surcharge versus a rate increase versus some other options to pay for this WRF. And we took council's recommendation that the surcharge was the best option and kind of went back and really started hammering out what that could look like. In 2021, this year, the city is expected to accept the low interest loan, and draft a contract is given to the city. And you guys will be seeing that on the 23rd of November to approve or peruse at your own leisure. So kind of how we got here. Since that time, we knew that city staff knew that there's going to be a huge ask, and so we started doing some cost saving measures right away. This slide should look familiar because last year you saw it. I just added more information now that we have better numbers. So a big thing that happened at the sewer plant, we started performing preventative maintenance on items that were new that could fail to prevent those items from failing. And we saw a yield of about 20% in budget savings last year and this year alone. We also knowing that a plant was coming, some large ticket items that fall apart or break that we can deal with not replacing or put a Band-Aid on, we have done. So we've saved the plant probably upwards of $500,000 this year and just not replacing those giant parts, knowing that a new plant is going to come online. But that does have some consequences. If a new plant doesn't come online as expected, those parts will have to be replaced at some point. And then, as you notice, City Council last year, this is that phase 3 biodryer, decided to go simultaneously with phase 3 and phase 2. And that will save us approximately $550,000 a year in hauling costs, along with pumping costs that we can now do at our own plant and with our own staff, which will be huge next year. And that you'll see kind of what that gets us to. And the big thing that's been happening over the last couple of months, the Public Service Committee has been brainstorming ideas to offset impact. So we've been doing deep dives into the budget, into the numbers, everything we can to try to find money for this plant, so it has little impact on the customers as possible. Council pushed to secure state funding for the biodryer, which was huge. If you remember our legislative agenda last year pushed for a biodryer purchase, a state funding, and with the help of our state representatives, Wilcox and Barkus, we were able to get that state funding, and that was upwards of $800,000 that now the city of Yelm does not have to pay for directly. And then we've been working extremely closely with ecology and our engineers to ensure that there's no delays and no extra costs come in because of supply and demand. Now on to kind of the news about it. You're going to notice some things here. This is where we are now. We've already gone through the other steps, the study session presentation, the brainstorming ideas, committee discussion on the ideas. Now we need to kind of get either hands under and feet under a path forward. So FCS conducted a rate study with our current numbers on multiple occasions. So I worked with FCS, which is a financial consulting group, about different rate studies, what we could do, what we couldn't do, how we could get numbers, moving the numbers every way possible, messing with the numbers, doing math, and just trying to figure out every penny we could pinch. They took our current loan agreement and the expected growth into account for the city. So one thing that we did was added how many homes we have in the queue, is what I like to call it. And that's because working with planning department, we know exactly how many homes are scheduled to be built and what they are. And it was actually discovered when we did all this crunching, all this number moving, that we do not need a surcharge to pay for the loan. So our current rates, and they're what they do, and I know this comes as a shock because I've been painting the worst scenario possible because I've been mathing and I didn't want to come at with an ask. We don't need to do anything to our current rates to pay for this low interest loan if we take it on. And the reason being is the finance department, the sewer staff have made tremendous progress. So having Stephanie on board has been huge. She's been really able to go through the numbers and find things that maybe would have been missed by someone that didn't have that knowledge. And then the sewer staff, with the cuts they've made, the just patchwork they've made, the balancing of keeping everything in-house as much as possible, we've been able to save enough money the last 2 years, and with the loan repayment process not starting until 2 years after construction is complete, we will not need to adjust rates to pay for this loan. We'll be able to keep rates in their current state. Questions?
Go ahead and call on him as you see him, Cody.
Yeah, Councilmember Carmody.
Are you kidding me? This is the best possible news ever. You are amazing. Thank you. And thank you for all of the hard work that everybody has done on this. I was so worried to hear that we were going to have a $20 increase or a $30 increase, because that's what we talked about at the last committee meeting. And Terry and I were scratching our heads like, how do we make this happen? And Joe was scratching his head. We did not like to hear this, but holy cow, Cody, you hit it out of the park. Thank you so much.
No, and just to reiterate, a lot of that comes from the people that are on board now, like the help of Stephanie and the finance department, and just the sewer department, Bill, Jeremy, all of those guys over there really able to crunch numbers and save money have made it this possible. And when we were looking at it, we were, last year when we looked at it, we looked at dire straits, right? What happens if we don't grow at all? What happens if all these things take place? And as this year came along and we've kind of seen a little better progress, we can map those things out, and that, you know, the loan we've gotten, or not the loan, but the grant we got through the state really was able to do this. So it's just, and I will bring, when on the 23rd, when we guys go to accept, or when the loan's presented to council, I'll bring the direct numbers to you so you guys can see for yourself what our end of year budget will be each year for the sewer department, and then kind of where that number will lie so you guys can see the numbers for yourself. I won't pull you into the whole giant spreadsheet, but at least give you the end top line. So
Awesome. And one last question. Sorry, Joe, this isn't affecting staffing at all? Like, we didn't have to cut staff for this, did we?
no, we didn't have
Okay.
to cut staff. Actually, we, at the end of last year, the whole management team kind of worked together to rebalance some salaries that were pulling from funds that maybe they shouldn't have been pulling for, they weren't as accurate. And so huge shout out to the rest of the management team. And we were able to balance those salaries to be accurate. And that saved the sewer fund, you know, upwards of $60,000 to $100,000 a year, which was good. Okay, Councilmember DePino.
Thanks. Yeah, just echoing Councilmember Carmody's happiness and joy out of this. This is amazing. Well done, Cody. I was also prepared for that $20 surcharge and seeing if there's other options we could do, and couldn't go to the capital budget in the state, seeing if we get some membrane money. And I still think that would be a prudent option to try to give us a bigger buffer zone. But well done. Kudos to you and your team.
Yeah. Not to leave public services out of this, that we crunched the numbers all week. And then Friday of last week is when I finally got with FCS, and we sat for about 2 hours and just went through every scenario to make sure that, because they said the same thing. They go, I don't know how you guys did it, but you did it. And here's the numbers to prove it. So I didn't know until Friday of last week for sure that this was the accurate number.
Awesome.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
So we don't need that sexy surcharge name either. So that's great.
Yeah. You guys can save it for a different
Something
charge at a
else.
later time. Beautification surcharge or something. Any
Nice.
other questions?
No more questions for Cody. You want to move on to B?
Yeah, B is, I don't have the
impact.
agenda in front of me. Go ahead.
Park impact fees.
Yep, Landon Haas will be presenting the park impact fees to you.
Very good.
Public Services Committee also knows about this, so they'll be able to probably answer any specific questions.
Very good. Hit that unmute button, Landon, and take it away. There you go.
Hey, sounds good, Mayor. Thank you. I will share my screen briefly. Can we see that okay? Thumbs
Yep.
up, thumbs down.
That's
Okay.
good.
So I just want to briefly talk to you about the potential of park impact fees that we would potentially start charging with new development in Yelm. So parks are definitely one of the major concerns that most families have when they move to a city. You know, they want to take their kids to new parks and playgrounds and things like that. So we're trying to think of ways that we can facilitate this and make sure that the families of Yelm are well taken care of without overburdening our budget as a city. So just a little background on park impact fees. These are a cost-effective method of providing for new and existing parks in Yelm. So as Yelm grows, we definitely want to create new parks, but we also want to maintain the existing ones we have, and that can include things like planter strips as well. These would be charged to each new single family and multi-family unit in Yelm. So we'll dive, don't be too frightened by the math. It's hopefully fairly basic, and I'm happy to elaborate on it as needed. But the current cost of all of our parks is about almost $5 million. And then we do have a little over $500,000 that the city itself can apply towards those parks. And then we divide that by the population of the city, which is about 11,000. We get a cost per person of $386 roughly, and then times that by 2.5 persons per household. I know it's a little bit weird to have a half a person, but that, you know, that's just one of the weird things about statistical averages. Sometimes you don't get exact numbers. And so our final cost per household is about $965. And so that would be the fee that we would charge per multifamily unit or single family house.
And Landon, to be clear, this would be a new charge for new residential construction, not applied
Correct.
to
Yeah,
existing
this is not This is not retroactive to any prior development. This is something that would be applied to the future. Thank you, Mayor, for the clarification. So just park impact fees are important for a multitude of reasons. Number one, they help to maintain the beauty of the city, and that's really important. We live in a really beautiful place. Number two, the parks actually help to increase land value of areas surrounding them. We've all seen the badly maintained parks. You'll see a comparison of one up in the right-hand corner of the screen compared to what Cochrane Park looks like. And I know which one I like more, and I know which one will help increase property values for our residents. And so park impact fees can help to support that. The park fees also allow for new parks and recreation sites to be built and maintained. We'll get into potentially some of the things that could be built or maintained on the next slide. Parks also encourage neighborhoods to get out and walk, especially with the COVID pandemic right now. It's good to get out into the fresh air and kind of away from people in enclosed spaces. And parks can be a really great place to go and hang out with your friends and family at minimal risk to everyone. Parks also improve air quality. We know the trees are kind of little lungs that help to take pollution out of the air and put fresh air back into our sky. And we're really grateful for that. And parks can help collect those trees so that we can get a major air quality benefit from those. And lastly, park impact fees help to relieve the financial burden on the general plan. We currently pay for parks funding and maintenance out of the general plan, and so dedicated parks impact fees would help to reduce that financial burden, which would allow us to use the general fund for other things, which of course every city always has a million different things that it can spend money on. So this would be one less big thing to spend money on from the general fund. A few different things that park impact fees could pay for. Maintenance on existing parks, that's always important. It's no good to build a new park and then just let it go to waste and not take care of it. Number two, planter strips. So maintaining trees that are put into planter strips, lawn grass that may be in those, that can go towards maintenance of those as well. And then as mentioned, new parks that serve future growth in Yelm. As people move to our city, then we want to make sure that we take care of those people, that they have fun places to go and hang out and play. A couple other things, certainly as Yelm grows, we could think about an outdoor pool or a recreation center or things of that nature. So definitely a variety of things that we can use park impact fees for. We've talked about this with the Public Services Committee, and from there I seem to get a positive response. So we wanted to bring that to the full council study session tonight. Any questions about this? This is the end of my parks presentation. Any questions?
Go ahead, Holly.
I just want to be clear. This is just a one-time fee, or
Correct.
is it? Okay.
No, that's correct, Councilmember Smith. This is just charged once at time of building permit, and that's the chip in that each new lot makes towards maintaining the parks or creating new parks or whatever we put those park impact fees for. But no, this is not a recurring fee at all. Any other questions?
Steps on this, Landon?
So if council seems positive towards this and directs us to do it, then we would start developing the actual mechanism for it. We would create an ordinance to implement that. We'd double check our calculations just to make sure that we've got all of our numbers right, to make sure that we're not overcharging or undercharging. And we would hope to bring that to council sometime in the next probably 3 months or so. Once we kind of have everything locked down and are ready to bring ordinance.
Oh, Terry?
So when we add these impact fees to builders, it's still within a reasonable total impact fee for them to build with, right?
Correct. Yep.
Go ahead, Joe, then Molly.
Thank you. And just to be clear, this is from the city perspective. I'm sure if the developer had something to say, it would be a little bit different, but have we reached out to developers? Have they commented on this or other stakeholders in that kind of arena?
We've brought this to the Public Services Committee. I wasn't there at the last one. I was helping with the EIC open house. Cody, did we have any representatives from the development community there?
I think the biggest thing we could look to is every county around or every city around us charges impact fees that are in the $2,000 to $2,500 range. The impact fee we're thinking of is less than $1,000, which when you get to a big developer is, I mean, I hate it, don't want to make it seem like nothing, but it is kind of a drop in the bucket when they're paying thousands and thousands of dollars of other impact fees for schools and traffic and everything. This is just a small one for a great cause.
Molly?
Thank you. I was wondering if we could have some kind of a breakdown of all of the impact fees that a developer would pay for one house in one community. For example, I mean, if he's building, 50 houses, is he paying the same for each house? Or, does it break down a little bit differently as opposed to if he was building 200 houses or 5 houses, that sort of thing. So can we get some kind of a breakdown of what these developers are paying for each house? Cody mentioned school, fire, other impact fees, and anything like transportation, that kind of stuff, just so that we can see what the developers are paying, and then what the homeowner would eventually be responsible for. That would be, I think, a good thing to see.
Agreed. Yeah, we're certainly, go ahead, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Sorry to cut you off like that. Just a curious a question from the citizens. Is it true that you can only use impact fees for the construction of new facilities, or is it allowable to use those fees for anything related to the maintenance of the parks?
Our understanding is that they can be used for maintenance as well as the creation of new facilities.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, one thing they can't, like salaries, they would not be able to use for.
Okay, can't cover salaries. Okay, so then we would expect to see a proposed ordinance on that at some time in the near future?
Yeah, I would expect within the next 3 months, probably, I would say February, once we've gotten through the holidays. We will bring this to the council, and Councilmember Carmody will be happy to provide a full breakdown of each fee that a developer pays, just so you can see that a little bit more.
Great, thanks for looking into that for us, Landon.
Yep.
So let's go ahead on to item C, which is the legislative agenda. Michael Graham. You could stop sharing
Thanks,
your
Mayor.
screen, Landon.
Good evening, council. Can everyone see my my screen? Oh, here we go.
Not yet. There you go.
Perfect. Got one slide, lots of text, and don't worry, Councilmember Curry, I will not read it to you. But these are the things that we have come up with this year for us to consider for our state legislative agenda. Last time that we talked about developing legislative priorities, council, you said, hey, let's not focus on the federal, let's just focus on the state, and let's keep it short. I asked all of you at a couple of meetings, hey, send me your ideas. Did the same thing with the department directors. This is the culmination of what I received and what we came up with just from talking to other regional partners. So wanted to share this with you and see if there's anything else that you have to add or would like more information on. The 5 items are to keep it short and sweet. 4 that are real specific to Yelm, 2 are that high priorities for us, building on the success of the last legislative session with the biodryer and the funding that we got for the Education and Innovation Center. The other 2 concepts are related to things that we would work on with partners related to electric vehicle infrastructure, trying to work with Lacey as a very urban area and us as a rural area, and also tackle the different transportation routes as people go down I-5 and then down our state routes, trying to make sure that they have access to electric vehicle infrastructure, if that's a concept that the legislature is open to. And we've been having conversations, all of us, about the importance of the habitat conservation plan. And one of the things that the city of Tumwater and the Port of Olympia have run into is, now that they've got this plan, now they have to have the money to go ahead and implement that plan and start buying the acreage. And that's why that conversation that we had is so important, about trying to acquire habitat land and doing so on the front end of things if possible. But the bottom line is, if we can work with Tumwater and the legislature to support a fund that would help cities like us and cities like Tumwater acquire that habitat conservation land, that would be a big help that we could provide. In addition to the HCP, in addition to other land that we can acquire, it would be helpful for us to implement the HCP when it is actually completed in 2 years, and have a fund that we could use to acquire the land that would be consistent with that plan. So huge benefit for us in that regard, if that's of interest to you. And then, of course, always supporting the partners that we work with. There's the South Sound Military Community Partnership and the Association of Washington Cities agenda, as well as the Thurston Shared Legislative Partnership. And those are referenced there in 3 and 4. And then, of course, the big one for us is always transportation. We pushed this last year, anything that we can do to try to get funding moved up. Representative Wilcox and Barkus were enormous supporters of ours in recent years to get the funding moved up and that project accelerated. The legislature is talking about doing a transportation revenue package. They talked about it last year. They're talking about it this year. We don't know if it'll happen, but I think it's really smart of us to continue to stay on the forefront of continuing to move up funding, even though it's already allocated for the Yelm Loop, and then trying to get funding for the 3 roundabouts, basically in our area and right across the way in McKenna, because those are bottlenecks that need to be resolved. And those are conversations that we've had with our regional partners. It's also on their legislative agenda. And then the other one, just as a reminder, number 2, is the Yelm Prairie Line Trail. This is something that the legislature funded last year. They only allocated around half the funding. There's still $710,000 that is needed to fix the bridge and make sure that that is walkable, passable, usable, accessible, which completes a significant portion of that trail as phase 2. So those are the things we've come up with. I'll just pause there and see if you have any questions and any information I can provide. Councilmember Carmody?
Yeah, is it too late to email my suggestions to you guys?
Not at all.
Okay, I'm doing it right now. Thanks.
You bet. Councilmember DePino?
Thanks, Michael. I think number 1 is definitely the most important. I agree with 100%, especially with the regional partners in McKenna and Pierce County, to get those roundabouts to help us here in Yelm transportation issues. I would also suggest looking at, and I'm happy to do this in writing too, looking for some membranes for our water treatment plant that we're going to be renovating here. Having those are what, and Cody, correct me if I'm wrong, about $1 million a pop or so, and we're getting like 6 or 8 of them.
Correct. And we'll need more later as we grow.
So if we could move those up, I would suggest putting those and focus on that in number 1. Regional efforts with Tumwater and conservation efforts with other nonprofits, that's great and everything, but I like to see them use their political capital a little bit more on those issues, and us focusing on Yelm first on some of the other issues.
Perfect. Yeah, shoot that to me in writing, and I'll add that to the list. And that goes for all the rest of you too. If you have ideas, I'll keep asking, you keep sending, and we'll compile it. And then realistically, if you could get it to me by the end of next week, then I'll take it and essentially put together something formal that you can vote on. I think council actually taking action and voting on a legislative agenda is important. I just wanted to bring this for you here just to keep the conversation moving forward. So send me any ideas. We'll add it in this format. And if you want it in a different format, let me know, and we'll bring it for you for action at the next meeting. Are there any other questions that I missed on hands?
Terry,
Terry?
I
it's
was
not
going,
just me, Terry.
I am invisible. It's okay. You won't like my idea anyway. Can we ask them if they would be a little flexible with the mask mandates so that we can come in and be in person again in Yelm? Can we do that? It's free.
We can add that to the agenda. This is your legislative agenda to establish as the policy-making body of the city.
All right.
That was a yes, Terry.
Thank you.
Thanks for compiling those, Michael, and we'll look forward to seeing other suggestions from the council and bring back a package that hopefully not only recognizes our priorities, but also overlaps with regional partners. So the same message being repeated often by our partners like South Sound Military Communities Partnership and the Regional Planning Council and so forth, then those messages get heard more and more, and maybe we get some action on them. So to be continued. Thank you, Michael. Do you want to just, I don't remember who was going to do the HCP update. Is that you or Cody?
Landon.
Or Landon. Sorry, Landon, I keep just forgetting to call on you when I should know this is your bailiwick. Go for it.
I am the master of the HCP. So yeah, I'm happy to give that update tonight. I don't have a formal PowerPoint for you, but just wanted to walk you through what's going on with the habitat conservation plan. So we received a grant for that from U.S. Fish and Wildlife this year, in amount around $800,000 with an additional $300,000 match from the city. So we are now in the process of finding a consultant, and we are hoping to have a public services agreement to present to council soon. We're still looking at the best way to contract with that, but we have a proposal from one company, and hope to be able to share that with you soon once we have something formal from them. The reason that we're doing this habitat conservation plan is, of course, the Mazama pocket gopher. That's one big reason. It's an endangered species in Yelm, and so we, as good stewards of the land that we've been given, want to make sure that we're in turn sharing that land with the other creatures that we share the land with. But it's not just the pocket gopher. There are other species in the area that could become threatened or even endangered in the near future. And so part of the consultant that we select, part of their work will be to identify those species and create a plan to help protect those animals. We are also hoping that we can use some of this funding to purchase some habitat that we can use to protect some of these animals, to use as offsets for any development that may encroach on gopher habitat, and things like that. So we're very excited about this. We hope that the habitat conservation plan will allow us to really protect much of what makes Yelm a great place to live and work. And so we're really excited about this, and happy to take any questions about that you might have at this time. Just as far as the timeline goes, we're really hoping to have something to bring to council before the end of the year. So we're starting to move fairly quickly on this. We'd like to do it first meeting in December, I think would be a good goal. But that depends a little bit on how quickly we're able to find and contract with a consultant. But we're hoping to have that formal PSA for you sometime in December. And then after that, it's off to the races, developing the plan and working with our city stakeholders to make sure that everyone feels good about it.
Big project.
Big projects. We're really excited about it. I think I've mentioned that a couple times, and we're grateful that we have the opportunity to spend this grant money to do something really good in our community. So we'll have more updates for you soon. The next step will be the PSA, hopefully in December.
Very good. Very good. Is that me? Wonder why I'm echoing. Huh. Well, thank you, Landon. And I guess we'll go on to E. Casey Mock, who's going to talk to us about the transportation system plan.
Yes, I will. All right. Can everyone see a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. Feel free to let me know if you have a question mid-presentation. There are only a few slides, so we should be able to get you out to watch the results soon. I'll be talking about the 2022 Transportation System Plan update. Just for a little background, our last transportation system plan came out in 2009. And so city staff has been working with Planning Commission to get this plan updated. And we would like to present to you some of the changes and then the next steps after that. So just for a little background, what a transportation system plan is, it's basically our long range guiding document that will guide the development of our transportation system in the city. So we're looking at a 20-year horizon. And then from this, the capital facilities plan and the 6-year transportation improvement program are built using the projects that are listed in this long range plan. The plan also includes road classifications, so which streets are arterials and collectors. It includes acceptable levels of service in terms of driver delay on our roads, the infamous project list, and then what funding options the city has available to fund transportation projects. So the major changes from the 2009 plan, there have been a few changes to road classifications, and these have just been made to match the Thurston Regional Planning Council and WSDOT classification so that everything's in line. This didn't affect too many streets, but it did move a couple streets down in classification, which will open up development potential for more mini storage, if you love that. A new addition to the plan is that projects are now grouped into 4 different categories based on what improvement type they're targeting, and priority designations have been added. So we have low, medium, and high priority projects so that we have more direction when we go to make our annual capital facilities plan. Terry, I see you have a hand up.
Thank you, Casey. You had the first slide up and it made me think of something. Again, it's nothing critical, but I actually had a constituent come to me today and say, hey, who put up the lettering on that wall that says welcome to Yelm because the letters are not spaced properly? Is there any way to correct that? Would the DOT do that for us?
Feels like a Cody Colt question, but we can certainly look into it.
We can do anything for you, Terry.
Thank you, Cody.
Thank you for keeping Yelm beautiful, Terry.
Oh, I'm working on it. It's not an easy job.
You'll like one of my later slides. Okay, so we've got priority designations for our projects. We also added funding estimates. So in the 2009 plan, we just listed the different sources available. But for this update, I added some numbers of how much each fund should generate in a typical year, just to have a better idea of what will be coming in. And then we have a new section about focuses for future updates. So what this means is it doesn't affect the 2022 plan very much, but it basically says, these are some things that we're seeing in the future that need to be examined closer in future updates. One of them being the prevalence of telework. That could definitely change, the needs of our transportation system and the patterns of residents. So that's a big one. Electric vehicle infrastructure is another one that should be a focus in future updates. Okay, I wanted to highlight a few of the new projects that are in the Transportation Improvement Program, just to give you an idea what to look out for. I will be sending the full plan out for review after this meeting. One of the projects, if you see this picture on the top left with the lovely planter islands, is to do Boulevard style improvements on Yelm Avenue. So basically between Burnett and First Street along Yelm Avenue, we would like to at some point put in planter strips into this center turn lane so that we have protected left turns, we increase safety, we increase beauty. And so that is something that's in the project list. That said, this is a low priority project. And that's, why those priority designations come into play so that the citizens have a better idea which of these improvements they can expect soon and which may be further down the road. Another one we have is Second Street pedestrian improvements. So this is a smaller, higher priority project, and this would be to install sidewalks from that north entrance to Cochrane Park up to where the sidewalks currently end at Mossman. I know I walk that route from City Hall to Cochrane Park a lot, and it would be really great for pedestrian safety to have some sidewalks along there. So that's an idea of what some of these smaller projects look like. A new project we also have that was built from our downtown corridor plan is the Washington Mackenzie one-way couplet. So Washington and Mackenzie streets, these are the streets that the Public Safety Building and City Hall are on. And there's a plan at some point in the future to make both of these one-way streets, which would allow for more on-street parking and would allow for a nice walkable downtown area right near City Park. And so that's something on the horizon. And then the last one I wanted to point out that I personally feel is pretty important is doing pedestrian improvements along Railway Road. So this will be installing sidewalks on a long railway road from the intersection of First Street to Middle Road. We've gotten a few citizen comments that they don't feel safe with kids walking along there. Kids take the bus along there and walk to school, and this is something that we could definitely improve on. So this is just a little taste of some of the bigger long-term projects along with the smaller ones that you'll hopefully see very soon.
Is that almost like an arch, Casey?
Yes, the
I know.
picture I have along the bottom in our downtown corridor plan, and this is in the project list, is to install a pedestrian bridge over Yelm Avenue, and that would be connecting where that wagon wheel is along the Yelm Prairie Line Trail, right across to Old City Hall. This is something that probably wouldn't be done until after, definitely wouldn't be done until after the loop is open, but could be a great way to make our downtown very walkable and beautiful.
Mhm.
All right, and
Very
my
cool.
last,
6 million bridge. Yeah.
yes. My last slide I have is the next steps. So just to give you an overview on what we've done thus far, Planning Commission has reviewed the plan and made their changes in the September and October meetings, and they have signed off on it. We had an open house little website for citizens to look at along with the draft plan and the project list. We advertised it on Facebook and held a public hearing at Planning Commission. So we've definitely gotten the word out. And then I will send the plan out to city council members and we will bring it back to you with an ordinance for adoption. I'm hoping at the end of November. And I do see Joshua Crossman commented the sidewalk on Railway should be a high priority project. I agree, Josh. Lots of pedestrian traffic. All right, what questions can I answer?
Very good, Casey. Thank you for that. And as you send that out for council to peruse more thoroughly, they may end up with some questions, and they'll have a couple of other opportunities to look at that. So, thanks for your work on that.
Thank you. This will come back to a regular meeting, but if you do, in seeing the plan, have some comments, please feel free to give me a call or shoot them by email, and we can chat then as well. Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you.
All right. The only report I want to bring forward to you before we go into council member initiatives, and I might be stealing Michael's thunder. Michael, feel free to pop in here, but on the 23rd, just want to give you heads up, we're going to do a ribbon cutting for the water tower restoration. Steve Craig, who, as you all know, championed that project, has invited a number of people to come down, and the citizens committee that made this all happen is just so excited about it. At 4:30, of that date, the 23rd, Yelm Community Center will be opened up with an outside-inside type of format so people can safely gather, and there'll be refreshments. And then at 5 o'clock sharp, we will have the official ribbon cutting in front of the tower with pushing a button that will magically turn the lights on, and that will be a ribbon cutting with video. Brianna will be videoing that, and if Brianna, if you're listening, if this may be the first you've heard of this, but you'll be videoing that ribbon cutting. And then when that's over, people who are so interested can go back into the community center and have just sort of a little social. But at 6 o'clock, the regular city council meeting will begin. There will be student of the month, and then the next special presentation will be a playing of that video that was just recorded for, it'll just be a couple of minutes of here goes the ribbon cutting. And then we'll have a couple of comments to be made about that project with the project coordinator and a couple of other notables present. So just wanted to give you a heads up that that is coming as a special presentation at the meeting on the 23rd. Michael, did I cover that completely?
Yeah, that's great. The other thing we were going to do is just highlight for you, council, because it's a study session, just give you a preview of upcoming agenda items. So, I know it's a busy season. We're going into the holidays. We've got budget, but just to give you a preview of upcoming agenda items and see if there's anything that you want to add. So the mayor covered the 23rd in the presentation. So on the 9th, we're continuing the conversation with budget. So we'll have the public hearing on the ad valorem tax. We will have the public hearing on the preliminary mid-biennium budget ordinance. That's something that actually has to be done when we transition from an annual budget to a biennial budget. We're required by RCW to do a mid-biennial update. And that's, I know you know that, but for the people watching at home, making sure that they know that as well. So that will be the public hearing. And then we'll have a development code update following your request. The planning and the planning commission and the public services team have gone through and they've taken out the chain link fences, and they'll come back with that development code update, and that will be on the docket for your consideration. We'll also have a follow-up on the ARPA funding, just a police camera contract. That'll be on the docket for you. And then we'll have a closed session to give you an update on the Teamsters negotiations. So that's on the 9th. And on the 23rd, as the mayor said, student of the month, presentation on the water tower. We'll be swearing in new council members for positions 3 and 4. The Public Services Department will give an update on the WRF loan contract, as Cody talked about tonight. We'll go over the details for that low interest loan that we were able to secure. We'll have a history of the 640 acres, and that'll be basically unpacking kind of where we've been, where we're at now. We figured that may be helpful to then follow up on the ARPA conversation that you had. We know that the council authorized us to receive the funds and utilize the funds in Appendix A, but there were 2 options in Appendix A and B that we teed up for you. We just need some guidance from council on what we want to do to move forward in that direction. And so we'll have that conversation, presentation, and update for you, and possible action there. And then we'll have more public hearings on this. Will be the 2nd for the property tax and the final mid-biennium budget ordinance. So if any of you have ideas or concepts that you want to bring forward, Terry, this would be the time to do that. Really after the public has had their opportunity to weigh in on these financial matters that you're considering, then it'll essentially be your turn, council, to deliberate as you see fit, make adjustments, consider the public input that has been shared at the public hearings, and then take action before the end of the year. So that's the update for the next 2 meetings. We will have an update on Mossman Avenue Phase 2 and that contract at your next study session. So that concludes what's on the docket coming forward, just for your information and situational awareness.
So important question on the 9th, the closed session. Council in the past has asked that those sessions be held before the regular meeting. So we just want to ask every time to make sure that we're accommodating your schedules the best. We're looking at about a 45-minute presentation. Are you still interested in having that at, let's say, 5:15, or would you rather have that closed session at the end of the regular business meeting?
I'd rather have at the end for me.
And there's another one for, so 2 at the end. Anybody else?
I say before, but I'm flexible.
Yeah, I'm flexible too.
Okay, well, there's 2 and 2 and 2 not weighing in. I know that it's probably more convenient at this particular date to have the meeting at the end, the closed session at the end. So without objection, we'll go ahead and schedule it that way. If that's okay with everyone. All right, very good. So having done that, we'll move on to council initiatives, and we'll start with Councilmember Carmody.
I don't really have anything going on. No initiatives. I emailed my legislative policy ideas to you guys just now because I completely forgot. I apologize for that. Other than that, not a lot going on. Let's wait for the election results.
Yeah, when's that coming out?
Well, I think polls close at 8 o'clock, right?
I'm kidding. I think we all
Okay.
know.
Yeah, okay. I was like, hold on, how do you not know this? All right, thanks, guys.
A note on that, I think Michael covered that pretty well, but just to keep in mind that the election is tonight. It doesn't get certified for a certain period of time after the election. And so those positions that would be filled right away, it just coincidentally happens on the same day of the meeting on the 23rd. So that's why we would have the opportunity to swear in those 2 positions that evening. Would happen as the first order of business after calling the meeting to order. And those new persons, or perhaps the same person, would be installed into those seats, and they would immediately take their seat and be voting members of the council. The other positions that are being filled, they can be sworn in 10 days prior to taking their seat, which is January 1st, or they can wait till that first meeting in January where they would be sworn in. There's a number of different options they can do for that. And but those wouldn't take their seats until January. Just wanted to
Also, Kathy and I have been working on the new council member orientation packet. So Kathy, if you're still on, let's get together in the next couple of weeks and really solidify that, just to make sure that we have something to give to everybody and that they're all getting the exact same thing. Thanks.
Yes, I agree, Molly. I'll reach out to you. We'll send you an email, and Holly also, she wanted to be involved in that. So yeah, I'll send you guys an email and we'll get together soon.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Very good. All right, Councilmember Curry.
Well, I don't have an initiative exactly. I understand congratulations are in order, Molly. You bought a house in Chehalis. I was wondering, when were you gonna tender your resignation?
Well, I haven't moved there yet. I am still living in town. So hopefully I can.
Where are you living?
In a camper.
On property?
Yes.
Or on the street?
On private property.
But you were in your house on Halloween and went downstairs to the basement. You posted.
I know, EJ, I can stay there a couple of nights a week and then I can live here 4 nights a week. It's still full. Like if I'm here 4 nights a week, that's still considered full time.
I'm not so sure about that. I'm not.
Look it up.
Okay. Well, you need to change your voter registration.
Why? I'm
Because
still living.
I don't know. Is it possible to get a legal opinion on this?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Well, we'll be happy to ask the city attorney for an opinion on that. Usually they're available for these meetings. He's not available with us tonight, but we'll put that question to City Attorney Dilly.
We can't do it tonight?
He's not available tonight.
Oh, okay. All right, well then, I'm wondering if there isn't a protocol error here, that we're not following the protocol manual, because I'm firmly convinced you've moved. That's what you told the city of Yelm, so they're not finding you anymore in your building. And I'm just convinced you've moved. And I think doing the ethical and moral and legally right thing would be to put in your resignation. Good heavens, when Tad Stillwell moved 3 feet out of the city of Yelm, he immediately put in his resignation.
Thank you for your input.
Well, I don't know how anybody else feels about this.
Well, not necessary for us to get into an argument about council members Carmody's legal status to stay on the council. The question has been asked. I will take that question forward to our attorney and get a legal opinion on that we'll present back to council as soon as we get that. And then council can take whatever initiative that they feel is necessary based on that
Okay,
advice.
because I think on the bottom of my protocol manual on page 47 is where this would fall into, and have a committee to research it. I just feel that we're going to have a big turnover, a possibility of a big turnover in council people. And we need to start looking at applications. If Molly has moved.
Which I haven't. And like JW said, we're going to take this up with the attorney. I don't see any point in hashing it out right here, right now.
I hear what you're saying, EJ, and I'm familiar with that clause in our protocol manual. By asking the question, we can bring this back to council as a request from the council to investigate activities by a council member. And so you started that process by asking the question publicly. So there'll be a meeting, there'll be a question to the council if they wish to form a committee, a subcommittee of the council to investigate the actions or behaviors of a council member. And then based on that vote, that committee may or may not be formed. That committee would then investigate the accusations or the incidences and then bring their recommendation back to the council at large. So there's a letter that has to, I'll look at the details of it, but there's a letter that has to be sent out and a bunch of other stuff we have to follow. But so that has been initiated by your request tonight, and we'll also get that legal opinion.
Great.
Councilmember DePino.
Thank you, Mayor. Is that from this protocol manual that you're signing that from, or somewhere else?
Yeah, page 47.
That's where the whole initiating all this is publicly. That's where you're from, Mayor?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, anything else, EJ?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, we will go to Councilmember Smith.
I don't have anything tonight. Thank you.
You don't want to report back on the, I know it's not reports, but how'd you like your first regional housing council meeting?
Oh, so much to say, so little time.
Okay, then we'll wait for regular council for you to.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Councilmember Wood.
I have no initiatives. I have a splitting headache, and I look forward to hearing back from our legal counsel on this present council situation.
All right, thank you, Tracy. Councilmember DePino.
Thank you, Mayor. No new initiatives. Only thing I'm looking forward to is the election results tonight. May the odds be ever in your favors.
Well, that can only work for one.
For everyone. There's a few people on here that has elections.
No, but in each election, if they're contested, it can only work for one of them. So
all right, fair.
Appreciate your sentiment, though.
Couple favors.
Councilmember Kavinsky.
Regarding the water tower, I had quite a few people come up to me and say, wow, those lights are amazing. Thank you, Cody. And is this a UFO? What is it supposed to be? They're asking. And then I know spouses that sent their husbands right into town to look at it. So it's kind of fun, and definitely at the right time of year for the lights. And then I just wanted to ask, I missed, unfortunately, that stakeholders meeting where you were discussing input for the land that we have behind our city hall. Did that go well? Did you get some good input from that?
Cody or Landon, you still on? You want to talk about that?
Just briefly, just.
Yeah, we had over the 2 open houses, 30 plus people attended both of those. And then
Mhm.
we've had over 70 survey results so far. So the survey is still open for the rest of the week. You can check our Facebook or website if you want to take the survey. I know several council members already have. Thank you,
Okay.
council members that have. And it just asks you for some basic input. So feel free to jump on our website or the City of Yelm Facebook to jump on that survey. Or if you go into City Hall, there's a QR code right when you walk in the door that has that. Kathy and her team put that out front. So huge thank you to them. So you can scan that QR code too. And we'll be taking surveys through the end of the week and we'll come back
And
to council.
what is that called? Survey for what?
For the EIC, it's a survey just about kind of what you want to see, what kind of input you have, if there's anything particular you would like or not like. That's
Okay.
what it
Okay.
is. So it's just kind of a getting thing. And we'll bring all of that back to council in a formal report when we get all those results. We're hoping early December, late November to bring
Okay.
those answers back to council.
Thank you.
Just
That's all I had.
send that link back out to Terry so she can have
Yep.
direct access to it.
I will send that
Also,
away.
Cody, while you're on, you want to talk about the color scheme on the tower?
Yeah, so we have the programming on the tower taking place. If you've looked out or if you can see out your window right now, you'll see red and black. That is because of the Yelm High School football team is in playoffs this weekend. One leg is not working correctly yet. That's, this is the very beginning. We haven't officially opened it yet. So one leg is still white, but you should see a red and black display and the black is just off. So it's patterned red and black. So I don't know if you can see it. Mayor could probably look out his window and tell you if it's working.
I just did. It looks really cool,
Yeah.
Even with the one white leg. Thank you for playing with that program.
Yeah, we'll mess with it more too.
But I do have a question. When I saw the aerial drone footage that Mr. Todd John did of that tower, he was at an elevation above the tower. And I noticed that there is a certain array of lighting that can only be seen from the sky. Is there any significance to that? Are you trying to call people in or what's going on there?
Yeah, we're hoping to get some UFO traffic here. And maybe, we can have a future little helicopter ride where everybody can look at the top down on the tower. So
There
who
you
knows?
go.
We'll get Chief a helicopter for his police department.
Very good. All right. Thank you, council. And I know we all look forward to seeing business meeting at the next regular meeting of the council. So with that, have a good night. Thank you, staff, for your support.
Yeah, have a good night, everyone.